Hello music lovers, welcome to episode 53 of What Makes This Song Special. As always, I'm here with a song, a story that reminds me of the song. I'll talk a wee bit about the singer of the song, a wee vocal coach analysis for a wee minute or so at the very end, and then I'll follow up with a part 2 that you can click on at the end of the video that will take you to my cover version of today's song, which is Follow the Light by Travis. Most of you know how the episodes work now if you've been watching for a while. If not, please hit that subscribe button, the like button, share it. That would be wonderful, thank you. Today's story goes back to 2001. I'd been seeing this girl for a couple of months. More about her later in the story. But I'd had a bit of a low, kind of lost, poor mental health few months before this, before we'd met, and all of a sudden I was sort of madly in love and loving life, and everything was amazing again, and I didn't want it to end, and I was sort of living in fear that things wouldn't work out just because she made me feel great, and I didn't want that to end. So that summer of 2001, we, as always, me and my family were going to Italy for the summer holidays. We always used to take a pal on the road trip. I think I've mentioned this before. And this time round it was our friend Paul Healy, or Paolo, or Paulito as I like to call him. It wasn't his first voyage with the Frankies. He'd made his first trip to Villa Latina with us a couple of years earlier. And he, at that point, just wanted to come along every time we went. Every time we were going, he wanted to come with us. I actually told a different story about this same summer way back in episode 2, where I talked about the wasp's nest and Poison's Life Life Goes On, and I'll leave a wee link for that episode if you fancy a funny story, but and a great song, of course. But anyway, this same summer of 2001, we're on the road trip to Italy, and on the way, I think we'd been in Germany, we'd travelled down through Switzerland, and we get to the north of Italy, and Mum and Dad randomly said, do you fancy stopping in Venice for a day trip? And we thought, well, that sounds great, a wee spontaneous decision on the journey. And we ended up looking around somewhere in between Padua and Venice for somewhere to stay for the night so that we could spend a whole day in Venice doing a wee bit of sightseeing the following day. So we ended up finding this little bed and breakfast. I think it was called Il Grillo. The Gritti or the Grillo, can't remember now. But we found a wee place round the corner to pick up some pizzas to take away. We took them to the hotel room with us, and I just remember sort of settling down for the night. It'd been sunny all day, it'd been roasting in the car, and then as soon as we got into the hotel room, I remember hearing this huge crash of thunder, and we could hear the rain thumping off of the roof and the Velux windows in the top floor room that we were in. And that night I couldn't sleep. The girl that I mentioned at the start, she was on a kind of girls' holiday in Magaluf, of all places. And I lay there in the dark hotel room texting her for ages. We were texting each other back and forward, telling each other how much we missed each other and all that cheesy nonsense. And each text message back then probably cost us about £1 a message. So I remember I had my mini disc player. You know, Google it. I sometimes I try and sort of if you're too young to know what a mini disc player is or whatever, I'll try and explain it in the episodes. But yeah, Google it. It's like an old version of a small CD before MP3 came out. It didn't last long. It was a Sony invention. Very cool. But anyway, me mini disc player, and I had just bought, before I came away, I just bought Travis's then new album, The Invisible Band, a Scottish band who I hadn't quite appreciated at first, but they'd really kind of stolen my heart with hits like Turn and Driftwood and Writing to Reach You from their previous album a couple of years earlier. And I was enjoying listening to this new album released in 2001 called The Invisible Band. And I just remember lying there worrying about just everything in life, you know, that's what I do. And I was sort of worrying that things might not work out between us, because what I like to do is when things are going really well for me and everything's amazing, I, rather than enjoy it, I sort of like to worry about it being taken away. So that's what I was doing. So I'm lying on my back and I'm looking at the rain hitting this Velux window. I always remember it hitting the window above me in the darkness, and I'm trying to get to sleep whilst listening to Travis on my headphones and just loving the album. Just an amazing album from start to finish. And the next day we woke up and this cool little B&B, and we went to Venice for the day, and it was amazing. The weather was perfect after that midnight thunderstorm, and we had a great holiday. Now, there's 100 other songs for this time in my life, and there's one that I will do an episode on at some point, so I won't go into that detail today about all those things and stuff. But things were good, life was good, and so the following year we decided to make that stop off again on the journey to our hometown of Villatina, except this time I didn't spend hundreds of pounds in text messages, because the girl who'd stolen my heart the year before was with us on the holiday. She'd come along with us on the holiday, and we found the same hotel, and I had the same hotel room, and I remember giving her an earphone, and I took the other earphone, and we lay in the bed looking up at the Velux window from the year before that I'd been looking at, and listening to the Invisible Band album by Travis together, and had this amazing moment of sort of happiness and feeling that my fears hadn't come true and things were amazing, and it was a lovely moment. And 22 years later, we're married, we have 3 amazing kids, and this song, Follow the Light, is from that amazing, awesome album. Still takes me back to those kind of 2 nights. It's probably not a song, I think when Lindsay watches this episode, if she watches it, I don't know, she's probably bored of these episodes by now, she knows all these stories, but when she watches this episode, she might be surprised at my choice of this song in particular, because it might not be one that, I think that's the beauty of songs, they all hit us in different ways, and there are other songs that remind me even more about us first getting together and all that kind of stuff. But this song always reminds me of that night in that wee hotel room in Venice. It just takes me back there, and I kind of, or 2 nights, if you like, 1 year apart, that made me realise that I had to try and stop worrying about everything and have a little faith in the world around us. So there's a wee short story. That's what it reminds me of. It's a very special song to me. The whole album is, to be fair. As always, I talk a wee bit about the band and the song and the singer and stuff like that. So Travis formed in 1990, when I think they were kind of in their late teens. And they named themselves after the main character in the 1984 film Paris, Texas. Their debut album, Good Feeling, wasn't released until 1997. So 7 years after they formed. So I presume they were like a wee high school band at that point or whatever, or maybe just finishing high school. And it didn't really kick off for them for a few years. But by the time they got to their mid-20s, they had quite a nice wee cult following, playing like festivals, and it when they released Good Feeling, that would have been like the first album, 1997. But the Man Who, which came out in 1999, that was their kind of moment of, household name familiarity around the UK. A bunch of incredible hits from that album, and then from the Invisible Band, which was the following album, which we mentioned already. They were all released in the space of maybe 5 or 6 years, where they really were one of the biggest bands around. I should have done my homework to find out if that also covered like America and Canada and all these. I think it did. I think it did. I think they did become quite big worldwide, but certainly in Britain and Europe they were massive in the kind of late 90s, early 2000s. Huge band. The singer, Fran Healy, had a really great voice for the type of music that Travis were renowned for. A really likeable tone that lends itself to the more ballady, folky numbers in their set, and then also able to kind of really grit it up and scream down the microphone for the kind of big indie rock angsty choruses as well. So able to sing quite a wide variety of styles, and I think quite a natural singer, quite a kind of a natural voice without having to work too hard to be a singer. I think it sounds like that anyway to me. However, lots of little bad habits definitely led to a bit of a decline in his voice a couple of years back, where he was looking like he was really struggling to hit some of the notes, which is a real shame. You never like to see that in any singer. I did hear some live footage from this year, and he definitely sounds like he's improved again. He sounded really good. Maybe not quite as good as he was way back, but he did sound a lot better than he's been sounding for the last few years. So hopefully things are on the up again. As a vocal coach, I'm available if you need any help, Fran. It would be an amazing honour to work in Fran Healy's voice. That would be really cool. But a really great frontman and a very cool voice. So So yeah, there's today's story. There's my analysis of the singer. A wee bit about the band. I hope you enjoyed it. A very short one today. A very short one. A wee bit cheesy. But for me, the song and the whole Invisible Band album, but in particular, Follow the Light. Very hard to say. Follow the Light very quickly. It's a bit of a tongue twister. It will always remind me of Venice, of falling in love and all those awesome things. And yeah, I'll be back next week. Another story, another song. Please hit part 2 to hear me doing my wee piano cover of Follow the Light by Travis. Subscribe, share, like, all those things.